Well, hey everybody, welcome back to Twisted Tales by Profiling Evil, where we shine a light on the overlooked, the eerie, and the inexplicable. Today, we're traveling to the crossroads of history and mystery. Cove Fort, just over my shoulder in Cove Fort, Utah. That big building right there, nestled in the rugged landscapes of the American West. This unassuming fortress has stood for more than a century. A silent witness to the whispers of strange occurrences and unexplained events. Was it just a strategic rest stop on a pioneer trail, or is there more hidden behind these stone walls? Well, together, we're going to unravel the facts, explore the theories, and dig into what makes Cove Fort a haunting chapter in the annals of the strange and unexplained. So let's dive in to this twisted tale. We're here in Millard County, nestled right in the heart of the county at Cove Fort, a bastion of Mormon pioneer ingenuity, a symbol of the 19th century resilience of those people, and let's be honest, an occasional hotspot for human folly. Now, this place was originally founded in 1860, but by 1867, Ira Hinckley, at the bequest of Brigham Young, the territorial governor, was designed as a way station for weary travelers, not a hub for nefarious activities. But wherever humans tread, so does trouble. And Cove Fort has seen its fair share of peculiar crimes and misdemeanors over the years. In its early days, Cove Fort was a magnet for travelers, especially those on the stagecoach. The good, the bad, and the downright shady. It's situated halfway between Fillmore, Utah and Beaver, Utah, and the fort served as a rest stop, again, for those Pony Express riders and stagecoaches. So naturally, there were horses, and a bunch of them, and with horses come horse thieves. The blacksmith at Cove Fort might have shod countless hooves, but even he couldn't keep every steed safe from opportunistic rustlers. Just imagine the scene. A dusty traveler arrives here at this fort with his prized mare in tow, only to wake the next morning to find it gone. Vigilante justice was often swift and, let's be honest, not exactly fair. Posse members, armed with torches and rifles, would scour the desert for these culprits. Sometimes they succeeded, sometimes they didn't. And sometimes the wrong man faced consequences. These incidents became so frequent at times that local lore hints at secret codes among the thieves to warn when the watchful eyes around Cove Fort were paying close attention. Now here's a really interesting thing. There was a telegraph office inside of Cove Fort. It became a regional communications hub. Unfortunately, this telegraph machine also made it an attractive target for less than scrupulous individuals. In one noted incident, a rogue telegrapher was caught using the fort's telegraph lines to transmit false information to a rival town, likely in an attempt to manipulate the trade routes or settle a personal grudge. Now, the details of this case remain pretty darn murky. The question is, did the telegrapher act alone, or was there a broader conspiracy going on? Now, I don't know if this had anything to do with the telegraphers and those secret messages that were getting sent out, but there is one story that's been bona fide where the sheriff, or the marshal, I don't know for sure which it was, came to Hinckley, the man in charge of the fort, and asked if a certain individual happened to be inside of the fort. When he was told that he was on the grounds, he asked him to lock all the doors on the building. And you can see as we fly around this thing, there was only one way in and a secondary way out. But it was really controlled quickly. And the sheriff or the marshal came and arrested that person and hauled him off to the hoosegow. Locals whispered about the mysterious visitors that were seen at the fort around that same time, their faces obscured by a wide-brimmed hat. Now, while no concrete evidence ever surfaced, the incident left an air of mystery around the fort's telegraph office, with some people even claiming to hear phantom taps on the lines long after the rogue operator was dismissed from the job. In the 19th century, the advent of the telegraph revolutionized communication across the country, making it possible to transmit messages across vast distances in mere moments. Now, while this innovation brought many benefits, it also introduced opportunity for criminal activity. Notably, that thing that we talked about at Cove Fort, a vital communication from the telegraph office. Whatever it was that rogue telegrapher sent across those lines resulted in all kinds of conspiracy theories. Everyone thinks that operator was spreading false information to a rival town. Now, again, whether it was to manipulate trade routes or settle a personal vendetta, who knows? But this case alone highlights how technological advances can become tools for deceit in the wrong hands, illustrating the dual nature of progress. You know, this form of early disinformation bears striking similarity to the challenges that we're facing today in the rise of social media. Platforms, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, serve as modern communication hubs, connecting millions of people in real time. However, just as the rogue telegrapher twisted the purpose of his tools, some social media influencers misuse their platforms to spread false or misleading information, often for personal gain or influence. For example, influencers have been known to promote dubious health products, claim miraculous results that lack any kind of scientific backing. Others spread misinformation about the political issues that are going on, exploiting the trust of their followers to sway opinions or incite division. These actions can have far-reaching consequences, from the financial losses people experience to societal polarization. And boy, have we not seen societal polarization. A way of demonstrating the pervasive power of these false narratives in a digital age. The parallels between the two scenarios reveal a timeless truth. The misuse of communication technology has always been a tempting avenue for those seeking to deceive. The challenge lies not in rejecting these innovations, but creating systems that promote transparency and accountability. By understanding lessons like this, lessons of the past, like the rogue telegrapher at the Cove Fort, we can better address the modern challenges posed by misinformation and ensure that tools are designed to connect us, not weaponized to divide us. This phenomenon was evident in the 19th century with the telegraph, and it's glaringly obvious today with the social media advent. While platforms have changed, the human tendency to embellish, to distort, or to outright fabricate remains delightfully constant. The telegraph was heralded as a marvel of its time, shrinking the world by transmitting information at lightning speeds. But the speed game brought chaos. One infamous case was that great moon hoax of 1835, predating the telegraph, but it gained steam when the telegraph hit the ground running. It came from a series of articles in the New York Sun that claimed that life had been discovered on the moon, complete with unicorns, winged humanoids, and lush lunar forests. The story was later picked up and circulated more widely once the telegraph made it easier to transmit tidbits of information, whether they were accurate or not. Now, another crazy example with the telegraph happened in 1872, when a Telegraph report erroneously claimed that Victoria Woodhull, a controversial woman who was running for president, had been arrested for obscenity. While there was some truth, she was later jailed, and that was only briefly. The initial Telegraph reports exaggerated the details, turning her into a scandalous tabloid caricature. But I think probably the most dramatic of all was the Great Chicago Fire. The telegraph that went out on that happened in 1871, and early reports blamed that cow belonging to Mrs. O'Leary. The cow, they said, kicked over a lantern and ignited the fire. Well, this colorful, utterly false detail became the enduring story for decades, despite Mrs. O'Leary getting exonerated by an official police investigation. And now fast forward to today. We've traded the technology from the telegraph to social media's speed and accessibility, which frankly has amplified the spread of false claims in many different ways. People like Samuel Morse could have never imagined what would happen. Take the widely circulated 2016 rumor that Pope Francis had endorsed Donald Trump for president. Despite it being debunked, this story was shared millions of times, fueled by clickbait headlines and partisan fervor. Another modern marvel of misinformation involved that conspiracy theory that 5G cellular towers were spreading COVID-19 during the coronavirus pandemic. The claim gained traction on Facebook and Twitter, and it prompted acts of vandalism against cell towers in countries all around the world. Scientists were scrambling to assure the public that the radio waves didn't transmit coronavirus, but the damage, both physically and intellectually, was already done. And since we're chatting about it, how could we forget the classic evergreen misinformation from celebrity death hoaxes? Just as the telegraph users in the 19th century might have spread false reports of famous deaths or moon unicorns, today's social media often kills off people like celebrities prematurely. I mean, think about it. Morgan Freeman, Cher, countless others have all been victims of these grim, entirely false reports. The parallels between the telegraph-era misinformation and social media shenanigans revealed today show us that while the tools have evolved, the fundamental issues remain the same. People love a good story, especially if it's scandalous, dramatic, or hilariously wrong. And both technologies shared a common vulnerability. Their strength or speed made them ripe for misuse. But perhaps this shared history also offers a glimmer of hope to us. If we could somehow navigate the misinformation pitfalls of the telegraph, we can certainly adapt to those of social media. After all, even the unicorns of the Great Moon hoax eventually faded into obscurity. A reminder that truth, however slow, often finds its way to the surface.
You know, by understanding the lessons of the past, like that rogue telegrapher at the Cove Fort, we can better address the modern challenges posed by misinformation and ensure that the tools that have been designed to connect us are not being weaponized against us and then made to something that divides us. To tell you a little bit about Cove Fort, the walls are made of lava rock from the mountain just behind Cove Fort. This thing at the base, this wall that's nearly 200 feet tall, is 4 feet thick at the base and 2 feet thick at the top. There's a walkway around the top, and there are gun holes all the way around it so that they could defend the fort if there were anything like an attack from the wayward Native Americans who were in the area. And there were a lot of Indian skirmishes going on across the country here. And for those who might be offended by my use of the word Indian, I was just told recently that it is appropriate to be able to talk about that from that historical perspective. I don't know, and if it isn't, please forgive me. But in addition to that, inside of the fort, which is only 100 feet long and 100 feet wide, so it's a perfect square, are 12 rooms. 6 on the north side and 6 on the south side. And we're looking to the south in this picture. In fact, the sun is over my shoulder, as you can see here in the winter. It's 23 degrees outside, by the way, folks. Outside of the fort is a large barn. There's a blacksmith shop and other things to support the farming that went on in the area as well. And keep in mind, this place had as many as 75 people every single day coming in as a result of those stagecoaches. And so the Hinckley family and those families that came in to support them were awfully busy feeding and taking care of cattle and taking care of people and cleaning rooms and getting the thing ready for the next day. You know, the fort itself has been restored multiple times. And while nobody was arrested during these efforts, there was one shooting in this thing. It happened to be a young boy who was shot in the knee by his brother. They found their father's gun while he was away and fired it, causing that injury. This place has been restored a couple of times since those days. It was actually in operation about 20 years for the stagecoaches, the Pony Express, and other things. Although the Pony Express was only about 14 months, and I hope you'll go over and watch my video on Twisted Tales about the Pony Express. But there is word that when they excavated the area, they found old weapons and other kinds of artifacts that they've kept as part of this complex but really cool history. Cove Fort stands as a well-preserved monument to Utah's history, a testament to human resilience, both in construction and in navigating the occasional lapse of judgment. Now, guided tours here tell the story of its founders, its volcanic rock walls, and if you're lucky, perhaps a few of the tales from the checkered past. Now, volunteers from the Latter-day Saint faith take care of all the tours in this location, and if you get a chance, come off of I-15 and stop and visit Cove Fort. I think you'll really enjoy the experience, and you'll learn a little more about what was happening in the Wild West in the late 1800s. And that's a wrap on Cove Fort, where history and mystery intertwine in ways that still make us question what we think we know. Hey, remember that profiling evil isn't just about uncovering the story. It's about connecting the dots and staying vigilant, and hopefully having a little fun along the way. And if you found today's journey to be intriguing, please take a moment and hit that like and subscribe button. Ring the bell so that you never miss another Twisted Tales. And don't forget to share Profiling Evil with all of your friends and your contacts. The more minds at work, the closer we get to the truth. So thanks for joining in on this experiment together. And thank you for joining Twisted Tales by Profiling Evil. We'll see you soon at the next crime scene.